All right, Rob, great to see you.
Great to be here, Nick. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, I'm super excited about this conversation. Maybe for the audience who is not familiar with you, I tell you what, I saw you on LinkedIn. I saw some of the stuff that you're putting out there, and I got really excited for this conversation. So, for everybody, this is Rob Fegan, 15 years in the Microsoft ecosystem, including time as, let me see if I'm getting this right, an individual contributor, a co founder of a Microsoft partner, an owner. You've not only worked at Microsoft partners, but you've also worked with Microsoft partners, and that's what you're doing today is helping those Microsoft partners to build their business with Microsoft and I guess advance their relationship and grow better together.
That's exactly right, Nick. That is really the my passion now is to help Microsoft partners grow their business, alongside Microsoft with Microsoft and really catapult what they do because there's such great work being done by partners that the ability to leverage Microsoft has really been a passion for me.
So Rob, I got to ask, how did you even start this journey?
Yeah, great question. It was funny enough. I Years ago I was working with a Cisco partner. I started in Cisco partner, and they came and said to me, "Look, there's this thing called Microsoft. We'd really like to stick our toe into it." And they asked me to lead the charge on that. And I have to say, I worked with Microsoft for the first couple of years, and it was not easy. Working at a Cisco partner and being asked to sell Microsoft. But I fell in love with the platform. I fell in love with Microsoft's mission and what they were doing. And for me, I just never looked back. I was all in on Microsoft. Needless to say, the Cisco partner, eventually that was changed. But yeah, for me, it's been a passion for, it's north of 15 years now. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Well, this is great. I've got a long list of questions to ask you here, Rob. So I guess I'll start out with the one question that I get asked most commonly, which is why even partner with Microsoft? And, how do you even get started down that path?
Yeah, it's a great question. And then for me, the opportunity was, Microsoft touches almost every customer. I mean, there's the reach that Microsoft has is second to none, in my opinion. And the opportunity for us as the partner community to leverage that relationship and to add to that relationship and pour into that relationship it's second to none. It's just it for me as going back a few years as an individual contributor, I was able to make my number by partnering with Microsoft consistently year after year. As a co-founder of a business, we built a multi-million-dollar business partnering with Microsoft. So the opportunity is massive. What Microsoft brings to the market is it's the bar, in my opinion. I mean, whether it be through modern work and Office 365, whether it's through Azure or D365 Dynamics, I think that there's just so many great solutions that Microsoft is bringing to the market, and the opportunity for the partner community to pour into that and to make those projects successful, and then the ISV community to build on top of the Microsoft platform. I mean, the opportunity is endless, in my opinion. So I encourage all my partners to double down on the relationship, to pour into that relationship, to really focus on making that the one of the key levers in their business is that partnership with Microsoft.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And that makes a lot of sense because I think that's where a lot of partners go wrong is they look at it with the mentality of if I build it, they will come.
Right. And it's the
Right.
wrong mentality. You can have the best solution on the planet, the best solution in the world. You can list it in the marketplace and crickets, nothing, because you don't understand, you're not driving towards an outcome that Microsoft is looking for. You're absolutely driving towards an outcome that a customer is looking for, and you absolutely can point people to your marketplace offer. But one of the real benefits and powers of working with a partner like Microsoft is that they have access to these customers and they understand what these customers' problems are. And if they can refer your solution through the marketplace to those customers, the value of that is incredible. The power of that And the scale of that is incredible. So, I'd encourage every partner to think through the value they're bringing to Microsoft and ask yourself, really, truly, what value do you bring to the partner community or to Microsoft and the Microsoft ecosystem as a whole? So,
is that things like, I think, kind of going back to your earlier point, I'm thinking driving cloud consumption, right? So I'm making Azure stickier because, to your point, Azure has a million solutions, but if you've engineered a product that solves a specific need that Azure maybe doesn't have a specific solution for, or maybe you're a better fit than the Azure solution, essentially you make Azure stickier in that situation if your product is built on Azure, right?
Yeah, and absolutely. And you don't necessarily need to compete with Microsoft here. Azure is a platform. So you can utilize the platform to run your solution, solving a business problem. And so, Microsoft wins. The value for Microsoft is that your application is built on Azure. It drives Azure consumption, drives Azure usage, which is, at the end of the day, what Microsoft is looking to do is to have customers leverage the platform of Azure as a whole. And whether it's a Microsoft solution or what we refer to as an ISV or independent software vendor solution, if it's running on Azure, that's the value you're bringing to Microsoft. And we're all good corporate citizens. Yeah, we're happy to see you solving a big problem in the market for the market, but we're even happier when you're using the Azure platform.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So I'm curious, getting started on that journey.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like there's like levels of maturity, right? And I feel oftentimes I see the first step is get listed on Marketplace, but maybe I'm wrong. Is that the first step?
So I would encourage partners that are building solutions to think about the ISV Success Program. It's a program run by Microsoft. Even before you start listing on the marketplace, by participating in the ISV Success Program, Microsoft will walk you through a series of steps. You'll also get a series of benefits, which includes Azure consumption credits and all these different benefits that you can get so that you build towards an offer that can natively be listed in the marketplace. And so I would encourage any partner, before they just jump straight to the marketplace, and depending on where you're in journey, maybe you do go straight to the marketplace, but if you are early in your journey, I would encourage you as a Microsoft ISV to look into the benefits of the ISV Success Program. It's not hard to find on Microsoft's website. And I think the value you get from being part of that program is incredible. I think it's a must do for partners that are really serious about building for the Azure marketplace or for the Microsoft marketplace. Along with that, and in conjunction with that, if you're not familiar as a partner with the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program, it's really important to understand what that is and how you can leverage the Microsoft Cloud Partner Program, the benefits of doing that. And as you mature into being a good Microsoft partner, you will see the tools that are available for what we refer to as co-selling all live in Partner Center. So it's going to be a fundamental part of your journey as a Microsoft ISV.
And help me understand, like, I get lost a lot of times when I hear about these different programs. So you've got ISV Success Program, AI Cloud Partner Program. I'm hearing now about there's an IP co-sell program. What are the differences between all of these programs?
Well, so brace yourself. You're working with Microsoft. That's just the tip of the iceberg of program names. There's dozens and dozens and dozens of programs. So at the beginning of your journey, you have to understand, that one of the quickest ways to start to immerse yourself is through the ISV Success Program. That's first and foremost. If you're going down the path of being an ISV partner with Microsoft, get there. Your next step is understanding the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program, because if you're not part of that and you're not qualified through the program, none of the other programs will become available to you anyway. So before you co-sell certified partner, you're going to need to jump through some hurdles, and all of those hurdles are listed or are part of the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program. So first and foremost, do not undersell the value of leveraging those programs, taking advantage of those programs, and more importantly, understanding those programs, because they're going to be a big part of your journey.
Okay. And then after that, is that when you start to think about, okay, great, now I'm going to get myself listed on a marketplace and maybe start to engage with, the Microsoft field teams, or what kind of happens next?
Sure. Well, so there's a few things, and some of this will come out as people go through the IC Success program, but you have to understand what type of offer you're going to list. So there are offers that are contact me, all the way through offers that are transactable. And so we just came out of Microsoft Inspire, and more than one of the executives referred to fiscal year 24, which is what we're in with Microsoft, as the year of the marketplace. And so your ability to co-sell, or you referred to IP co-sell earlier, your ability to execute against some of those programs like IP co-sell will be predicated on having offers in the marketplace that qualify for those programs. And sort of the gold standard is going to be a transactable offer, meaning that a customer can transact the purchase of that product right through the marketplace. And Microsoft will facilitate that purchase on your behalf. Terms and conditions, all the dollars that have to exchange hands will be done through Microsoft. And there are some benefits to that in terms of there's programs like if a customer has a commit against Azure and they purchase your product through the marketplace, Microsoft can see the consumption that will be applied to that commit that a customer has. So there's a ton of great benefits. And I guess, again, as I said, the gold standard is to build a transactable offer. So that's step one. People think, I list it, they will come. That is not the case. You have to appreciate that there are hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of offers listed in the marketplaces. You've got the Azure marketplace, you've got AppSource, you've got TeamStore. So you've got all these different marketplaces that are available to your prospects. And just because you've listed it there does not mean that they're going to find it, does not mean it's going to resonate. So there's a lot that goes into listing an offer and demonstrating and articulating the value, because the way people are buying is changing. People aren't going to salespeople first. They're looking to websites, they're looking to marketplaces. And so you really have to invest in your offer there. And then it goes back to our earlier discussion of, are you demonstrating the value not only for the customer, but for Microsoft to help promote your offer? Does Microsoft understand what your offer does? And more importantly, does Microsoft understand how it helps them move their customer forward at the same time as moving their sort of own personal scorecard or measures forward? So because the folks in the Microsoft field are all measured daily or weekly on what they've done to move their customers forward. Have they sold licenses? Have they driven Azure consumption? All these different things that are important to them. So it's super critical.
I'm curious about, there's a couple things you said there. So you've got contact me offers, you've got transactable offers. I also hear the term public offer versus a private offer. Can you break some of this down?
Yeah, so public offer listed in marketplace, accessible to everybody. Private offers, and this is actually, there's a lot of innovation going on inside of Microsoft about this program. Private offers are where you can list an offer that's exclusive to either a specific customer or a specific partner, where they can transact through the marketplace, but it's just designed for them. And so there's a new program called multi-party private offers, which is currently only available in, I think, the US and Canada. I could be wrong on that, but it's limited in its deployment today. But multi-party private offers, which means that you can bring multiple partners together. So think about this, where you've got a systems integrator and you have a ISV and a license reseller. You can bring them all together and they can fulfill a multiple parties can come together to fulfill a customer problem and have that transacted through the marketplace as a private offer so that it's not out there generally available as we call a public offer, but it is still available to a specific set of customers or customer, and you can transact through the marketplace. So super critical to understand that, and it's really a big piece of where the marketplace is going and allowing the flexibility to drive unique pricing and not just have to have one price fits all.
One of the benefits you mentioned in terms of being listed on the marketplace is committed cloud spend drawdown.
Yeah.
And so I think the term I've heard thrown around is MAC. I don't know if
that is correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious, is everything that's got a marketplace listing MAC eligible? Are only certain things MAC eligible? What's the percentage of drawdown? How does all that work?
Yeah, and there isn't a one size fits all answer to that. It's unique to the application. It's unique to your status in marketplace, and it's individually the contracts that customers have with Microsoft. So there's no good answer to say if it's this, it's that. If it's this, it's that. But it's important to be aware that that's one of the values you can bring to Microsoft. If your application utilizes Azure, is consuming Azure, it's something to be aware of and something to ensure that Microsoft is aware of, that this has the potential to do that. And Microsoft publishes the requirements of that. So I would encourage any partner that thinks they might be eligible to go check out Microsoft.learn or learn.microsoft.com. So
what about I feel like partnering might be very different for an ISV as opposed to a service provider. Because it kind of makes sense to me if I'm an ISV and my product is built on Azure, right? Mm-hmm. It makes it a little bit easier for me to understand how I'm solving that problem for Microsoft. For a service partner, though, does all of this stuff that we just discussed still make sense, or is it a little bit different?
I think it's a great question. And as Microsoft evolves and as the ISV community evolves, I think that the lines are going to become blurred because, in the past, it's been very separate. You have your systems integrators over here and you have your ISVs over here. But as the marketplace evolves and starts to bring those things together, it no longer is just one or the other. It's no, we're better together. We're bringing, as a systems integrator, part of my value proposition can be bringing these ISV solutions into what I do to, say, deploy Office 365. I might be integrating ISV solutions into my offer. And so I think that they start to marry together in the very near future. I think we see more and more of that. And I think, and you can see that Microsoft acknowledges that with the whole multi-party private offers program, and they're in their early stages of that. But it absolutely is clear to me that Microsoft and the market see those things coming together. It's not this or that. It's here's the business problem, and how do we bring the things together to solve that problem? So I think that they're really coming together. There's a shift in the market and how customers are thinking about it.
I'm also curious in terms of, I feel like when you put a listing on the marketplace, there's a little blurb in there. So there's a little marketing aspect of it.
Yeah.
The marketing aspect, should that be targeted more towards your end user, or should almost be targeted more towards the Microsoft team to help them have visibility in terms of how you're helping Microsoft? Or is it a both and or an either or type of?
I think as an ISV, first and foremost, you have to articulate the value to your client. Mm-hmm. That has to be very clear to your client, what value you bring to the market, what differentiates you, what your superpower is. And then as it relates to Microsoft, a lot of that is underneath the covers in how you're listed. If you're a transactable offer, Microsoft can make some assumptions about, okay, now I'm starting to see that they're really ingrained in our program. If you're listed in an Azure Marketplace, It's clear that you drive Azure. If you've achieved the IP co-sell status, there's a number of requirements that are Azure based that Microsoft now knows, as the sellers know, you've hit these thresholds. So I think that it's to answer your question, the listing itself, in my opinion, should be customer focused. There's no way around that. I think I'm very clear with the partners I work with. This needs to speak to your customer. It needs to speak to the pain points of your customers. It needs to speak to business outcomes. It needs to answer the questions that your buyers have. When it comes to working with Microsoft, how you list it, how the programs you qualify for behind the scenes, the things that the customers never see, speak to Microsoft. So that would be how I would approach that with customer or with ISVs.
I feel like in theory, people have this imaginary workflow in their mind that, maybe I'm the Azure architect of a company, and I'm looking for a solution. And so the first place I'm going to go is the marketplace and search for that solution and find it and transact it through. I mean, is that a real workflow, or is that pretty uncommon? Because I feel like being listed on the marketplace, I don't know that people are actually going there searching for the solution and buying, or if it's more, hey, I've got this public listing here that's available, and maybe it's like part of my research phase as a customer, but then I'm hopping on a sales call with somebody, and then at the end of the day, really we're transacting through that private offer that's utilizing the public offer as a kind of a template.
Yeah, it's a great point, and it's an astute observation. That, from my perspective, as a company, Microsoft is early in its marketplace journey. Customers are, it's a generational change now. It's not something that's overnight. Oh, we're going to do it this way today. It's as people's buying habits change, marketplaces will become more and more relevant, including Microsoft's, and it will become more of a native experience or a normal experience to go and check out the marketplace first. But are we there today? I couldn't say we're there today. I think that now it's a medium that you can direct people to. It's a medium that you can use to transact. And to your point, once we agree on something, then we can use the marketplace as the medium to make the transaction happen, because this end customer already has an agreement with Microsoft in place. We don't need to worry about coming up with new agreements. We can just transact through that. So I think that there are some benefits to that, but I think that as overall, the marketplace still needs to mature, and people need to understand the buying process more from the marketplace perspective as we go along. So
I know I keep doubling down on this topic here, but for actually getting listed, it sounds like first step, ISV success program, then learn about this AI cloud partner program. But at that point, when you actually want to get listed, what is the lift look like?
Sure. So there's a few things to unpack there. And so one thing to know is that you will not be able to list an offer on the marketplace until you're in the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program. So that is a step that you will have to go through. So you're going to have to get registered. You're going to have to go through those hoops of the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program. The ISV Success Program, in my opinion, just makes that process more seamless. It makes it more open. You have more access to resources to help you do that. And then the marketplace listing itself it literally is a set of steps you just click through, and I encourage partners to read the content beforehand, because you need to collect a number of different assets. You need to spend time really crafting your offer, really writing the copy, building the assets, to make in my opinion, what makes a successful or helps to drive success is a good listing, a listing that makes sense, not just one that you threw up on a Friday afternoon because you needed to check a box. It's one that really does that. And it's all done through the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program or your partner portal. So it's not a huge heavy lift, but there are a number of steps to go through before you fire up your listing.
So there's the the marketing aspect of like creating all the verbiage and all of that,
Yeah.
there's isn't there an engineering aspect of it too, or am I getting that part wrong?
There. So when you say engineering, I mean, notwithstanding that the product has to be built and engineered and
Right.
done, but once you're in the marketplace, there is some engineering type documentation that's required, especially in the Azure marketplace. But I would not consider that to be a heavy duty engineering document. It's more, I've heard it referred to as marketecture, marketing and architecture brought together to make sure that it answers questions. And again, to that point, it's all about answering the questions your customer has. So the more that you can do to answer those questions through your listing, the better off you are, in my opinion.
So why do people go to third party services to help them get listed on marketplace? Is it, I mean, because all of the things that you mentioned, it doesn't sound like it's too hateful of a lift.
It's not that it's hateful of a lift or even a really, really heavy lift, but when you don't do it right and you don't apply, you don't do it thoughtfully, then you just become another listing in a sea of listings. And so that's why I encourage people to work with companies like Workspan, is so that they know they've checked all the right boxes. They know that their offer is listed correctly. They know that there's nothing blocking them from being successful in moving their offer forward, in getting traction in the marketplace. So that's why I believe there's really a place and a need for companies like Workspan to help partners get their listings out there, get them out there timely, get them out there correctly, and then to help them leverage that going forward. So that's my 2 cents on and why it's important to really work with companies like Workspan to help get this get the ball rolling faster. I mean, it's all about speed to execution.
So now that let's say you've gone through that process, you've got your listing up, right? I guess what happens after that? Are you worrying about deal registration at that point? Or I'm sure there's other steps that probably even come, other considerations before that, right?
Yeah, I mean, deal registration is definitely something you want to be aware of. And again, that's something that you need to be part of the Microsoft AI Cloud Partner Program to register your deals and share your deals. It's the concept, if you've heard the term co-sell, it's bi-directional. It's not just Microsoft sending stuff to you, but if you have opportunities, you can share that through your portal, your partner portal with Microsoft, to let them know that you're making an impact there. And so it's really important to do that. And the other big thing that I think many partners miss is that just because you list it doesn't mean that the work stops. You still have to be out there promoting the offer. You still have to be in front of customers sharing about your offer. You have to be in front of Microsoft, letting them know that your offer is there. And again, to pull from what we talked about earlier, is you have to share the value of what your offer brings to the Microsoft seller, to help them understand why it's in their best interest to share your offer with their clients. So it's really, the work doesn't stop just because you've listed. The work only really begins then. I think if you get it listed correctly, you check all the boxes, and then then that's when the real work starts, is to get your offer in the market.
Rob, you mentioned earlier that you meet people who they're almost in this like limbo land, or this maybe state, where they've gone through all of the steps that we're talking about, right? They're registering their deals, they're listed on the marketplace, and maybe they're having some amount of traction in terms of co-sell, but things aren't accelerating as fast as they want, and they're kind of trying to determine, am I really going to get an ROI out of this? Because it's a big investment of time, effort, resources to do all of this.
Yeah.
And you're pouring into Microsoft hoping to get something huge out of it.
Right.
What's going on in those situations?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that I work with partners to try and answer. Is that you have to look at what is it that's holding you back. So is your value to Microsoft clear? Are you articulating that value consistently? Are you showing up as a thought leader in your space? Are you helping Microsoft drive their deals forward? Are you sharing in both directions, not just waiting for Microsoft to land leads in your lap, but are you saying to Microsoft, look, I'm working with these 10 customers. I've got these 10 relationships. I'd love to share them with you and let you know what we're doing in there to see if that helps you in your journey, whether it's to sell just our product or it's to help you in your larger engagement. So I think that there's a lot of levers that customer or that partners can pull in order to help drive their relationship with Microsoft, help make sure that they're leveraging all the programs that are available to them, making sure that their messaging is clear and that their execution strategy is consistent. I'm a big fan of measuring what you do and see what works and what doesn't, and double down on the things that are working, tweak the things that aren't, or change them up.
A couple last questions for you, and then I think I've taken enough of your time. But I feel oftentimes I'll meet alliance managers and they feel alone, right? Where maybe they came from sales or maybe they manage channels somewhere else or whatever it might be. But there's all of these Microsoft alliance leaders out there, but is there a community that exists for these people? Where do these people connect with their peers and learn best practices? Can they get plugged in somewhere, or should they just pick up the phone and call you?
Great question. Well, so I mean, it's one of the things I do for my community is that daily I try and share tips and tricks about working with Microsoft. So you're welcome to follow me on LinkedIn and be part of that community, part of my network, where I try and share everything. I tell people I don't have any secrets. My value add is that I bring all the pieces together and give you a direction. But I'm a big fan of sharing all of the secrets that are out there, all the tips and tricks. So that's one. There's a great podcast out there, The Ultimate Guide to Partnering. If you haven't seen that, it's run by a fellow, Vince Manzioni. He does a phenomenal job of creating a community. So I'd encourage you to follow him, listen to his podcast. So there are avenues where like-minded people come together, myself included. But you're right. I mean, it can be a lonely job. I mean, you're one person in a sea of people in a massive ecosystem. Microsoft's published, but there's roughly 400,000 Microsoft partners out there. Microsoft itself is a massive organization with multiple groups built in. So it's really hard. And I don't always envy those alliance managers when they're tasked with navigating a behemoth organization like Microsoft. So
I think I'm coming up on the last two questions here. This is going to feel like a curveball, and it's a little bit old news. So I remember this might have been about a year ago. The news came out that they were deprecating silver and gold
yes.
partnerships.
Yeah.
What's the story with that? What's replaced it? I feel a little behind on that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something that partners really need to understand. And if you have a chance, if your audience has a chance, is to go back to Microsoft Inspire. All the content was recorded. There was a session by a fellow from inside Microsoft, Dan Rippey, who really does a great job of explaining why they made the change and the benefits of the new program. But I'll try and take a few minutes and sort of summarize it. And it won't be as good as what Dan did, but please go back and listen to that. But at the end of the day, the gold and silver designations were really long in the tooth. They had been out there for literally forever. I mean, as long as I've been in the Microsoft ecosystem, I feel like they've been there. And they really lost their teeth in terms of what it meant to be a gold partner. And it really was difficult for customers to distinguish, well, you're a gold partner, but really, are you a gold partner in the area that is most important to me? And then obviously with the revolution around AI and machine learning and all of these things, it's the landscape changed drastically. And so Microsoft has changed the partner program to really accommodate that. And I think they did a great job. I think that sure, it has room to grow, but I think that their first pass at the program was really a phenomenal improvement in the overall program. And they went to the concept of, left the concept of gold and silver and went to the concept of solution designations that are specific to the areas that customers can relate to. So you think of modern work, you think of data and AI, you think of security, all these different components. And there's 6 different solution designations that partners can apply for and qualify for, which says to the customer, look, I, as a partner, specialize in this area that you have identified as important to you. So I think it's been a huge improvement. I think that not only has it helped partners differentiate themselves, it's made it easier for customers to find the right partners to work with. So overall, I've been very pleased with the program. And not that it didn't come with growing pains for partners, because there was some new hurdles that partners had to go through, like Microsoft, there's skilling was one of the big components that a lot of partners struggled with, that there was a whole new set of certifications. And so I acknowledge that it was hard for a lot of partners to make that leap. And then I will say that the first pass of the program maybe didn't address the ISV community as well as it could have. But Microsoft is pivoting and growing that the program to include and be encompassing of ISV. So overall, I think it was a great change. It was a much needed change. And I think Dan Rippey and his team did a phenomenal job of moving it forward.
I have a lot of folks in my audience, Rob, who are salespeople. I'm a salesperson, right? And I think a lot of folks in sales, actually, they really enjoy networking. They enjoy people. And so many of them, myself included, didn't even know that this world of partnerships, channels, ecosystems, alliances even existed.
Yeah.
And then when we hear about it, we get really excited and we think, wow, that's really cool. And some folks I know in my audience, and I've even thought about it, are like, hey, how do you transition from sales into a role like alliances or channel? Do you get questions like that a lot? And do you have any advice for people who are maybe thinking about that?
Yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity that's starting to present itself. I think it's really starting to come into its own, the whole ecosystem concept. And really, I think there's a lot of opportunity for people that are great at networking and bringing different parties together to solve a big problem. I think it's a real opportunity. And I would encourage anybody that is interested in partnerships or managing alliances to really seriously consider it as a career. I think it's got a lot of opportunity. And I think I saw recently a CPO, which I was initially going procurement, and it was a chief partner officer. And I think that the career opportunities are really going to open up in the whole ecosystem environment. And there's a lot going on out there to help drive that. Marketplace being one of those sort of tectonic shifts that are happening in the market that says this is really, it's here to stay. And the concept of partnering is now sort of becoming legitimized. The P2P approach to selling and helping solve problems for customers is really going to be a big part of the new world of selling.
Rob, you've been really generous with your time. Thank you so much for answering all of these questions. Where should people find you? I think you mentioned earlier, but maybe one last time.
Yeah, I think the best place to connect with me is on LinkedIn. I am there every day, Monday to Friday, for the most part. And definitely reach out, connect with me on LinkedIn. Happy to have a discussion and hear more about what you're doing.
Awesome. And last question, anything that I didn't ask that you think I should have asked?
No, I think you covered it. I think we went really deep on a lot of great topics. And I would just encourage people to get out there to learn what Microsoft's doing, to really invest the time in understanding the different programs and what they can mean to you and how you can leverage them. There's just a ton of opportunity. And I'm a big fan of Microsoft, and I think that it really can catapult your business forward if done right.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Nick. Take care.